Oh gosh darn it. Hang on. Why isn't this working? All right. Good morning, evening. Okay. Can you hear me? Shoot, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you?
I've switched to a different microphone. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Cool. It wasn't me. That's usually not the case. Usually it is me. Okay. Let's see. So two things. Oops. So I saw your comment. Uh-oh, you froze. You still with me?
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, don't know why I've lost video. Let me just stop it and restart it. Okay, that seems to have fixed it.
Okay, so I saw your note. So I was working on this over the weekend, and it was like, oh, I just have to swap out the deployments for delivery. And then the more I was looking at it, I'm like, no, this is just all just wrong. It's not in alignment with, like, it you know, I was looking at the glossary and I was trying to pull stuff over, and I think it just needs a refresh. So I have another pending an uncommitted update where I'm trying to work on that. And then I noticed all of Justin's comments. So it's a great big IP, and I would hope to get it far enough along to just submit it. But now there are so many questions around the content, I'm not quite sure what the fastest way forward is. So thought I'd see what y'all thought.
What we originally agreed was that we were going to try and get the material onto this platform and then go through and do the detailed content review. So originally we were just going to do the showstoppers, which was, this chapter's not got the right name.
Right.
And then go through and review the content and then refine it, because what we really need to do is get something that other people can contribute to as a baseline. So my suggestion would be to
merge as is.
So let's just sort that one piece about getting the chapter title right, because that's a bit of a showstopper, and then everything else, let's move that into a subsequent review phase, because we can argue over the semantics of individual sentences till the cows come home. But
sure.
Okay. What we want to do is get the narrative right, make sure we're hitting the key beats, and then we can continue to refine over time.
Okay, so what I'll do then is I will capture. God, I don't feel so good. I will capture the comments and start and create an issue so we don't lose them. So I'm not sure what happens to the comments. I think discoverability goes down once the change is merged. So I can do that and then just get this thing committed, and then we can start revising via PR. Okay, I'll do that.
Because I think from some of the comments, we don't necessarily yet have a shared view of what the end-to-end goal is for some of this. So I think we need to
Right.
talk more about what the key points in the narrative should be,
Right.
and then refine from there.
Let's see. Okay. Okay, I did get, I think I CC'd you on the emails about the birds of the feather, just so you know.
Yep.
Did I do that? Okay, cool. All right, so that part is done. I completely forgot to ask Kara about the publishing. Let me get that email going right now. And since it's just the two of us, it is just the two of us, right?
Yep.
All right, well, my last day at Google is May 13th. So I will be moving on from Google. However, the company that I am going to, one of the things that appealed to me is they have their own open source continuous integration system that was built with specifically around doing CI/CD around databases. So it's called Evergreen CI. And I'm going to be vice president of developer productivity. And the company is MongoDB. And so I'm hoping to bring MongoDB into the CDF fold as
Awesome.
one of my first years or 6 months. I don't know. I have to figure out how much budget. Apparently, I own my own budget. I report to the CTO. So we'll see what that looks like. Anyway, it's currently a little bit hush hush because Google is not thrilled that I'm leaving, and they asked me to keep it quiet. So.
Okay. We may want to look at the recording on this call then.
Ah, right. Well, I'm not sure how many people look at that. I don't personally care. I mean, I'm just trying yeah. Anyway. Okay. So the other thing, let's see. Still waiting on Tracy published the path to her work in progress. Still waiting on Justin. I think the compliance category under learn should be a separate issue. Okay, do you want to call it early and I can just spend the rest of the time working on this, or did you have other things you wanted to talk about?
Just two things I wanted to touch on briefly. I noticed there was an action on me to help on another section, but I think that I missed the discussion about what that section was.
Oh, right. Um, wow. Okay. I think if I remember correctly, and we could probably ping Tracy to confirm, but you had done a really lovely job on the other section on the site. As far as sort of introing the understanding the problem around the broader, continuous delivery meta topic. It felt like there was a good opportunity to kind of take a more specific version of that around secure software supply chain. A lot of times, particularly when you're ramping up, security is not necessarily as important in your early requirements as you might want to consider it, and what are the circumstances within you might want to consider that. So I think that, and your name came up as someone who might be able to frame that really nicely. it's, don't consider it marching orders, but consider it, hey, like Terry's really good at those, if that's something that you would be interested in doing.
Okay, I'll take a look at that one.
Okay. But yeah, it's been a hot minute, so I've quit my job since then. So Tracy probably will have some details to remember as well.
Well, I can probably go back and look at the recording of the last session and get what the context was from that anyway.
I hope there was one. If it was up to me, I always forget. But hopefully Tracy did. Okay. That is my recollection anyway.
Yeah. And then I just wanted to make sure that we have a shared understanding of the structure that we're doing on this stuff at the moment. Because I think what we've got is a bunch of independent aspects that we're talking through in that learn section. And then we're trying to pull all of that together under the umbrella of continuous delivery. And I think from the feedback that I'm getting from different people, there's some confusion about why do it that way rather than just have one narrative about continuous delivery as a whole thing. And I think it makes sense to chop it up into some of the perhaps historical pieces like continuous integration and continuous deployment, because there are a lot of organizations out there that are doing bits of those components and not necessarily doing what we would consider to be continuous delivery. Or we've also got some situations where organizations are able to streamline their process because of the nature of their product. So I think I'm seeing a lot of threads at the moment on Twitter about doing continuous delivery without any testing. And
which surprises me not at all, while horrifies me at the same time.
yeah. But the argument is that in the context of Facebook and Netflix, you smoke test in production, and if it breaks, you kill it and revert back. So right. Why bother with all the rest of it? And I think it's important to be able to have the discussion that
right.
If it doesn't matter whether your product works or not, then you can argue that you don't need the investment in all of that testing, because as long as you can recover quickly, that's sufficient.
Right.
But if you kill someone as the result of not
right.
testing, then it's a different debate.
And I think that's a really good, I think there's a really good sort of discussion of that it'd be cool to figure out how to do, which is what you care about under what context, right?
Yeah.
And think about, like, sure, Facebook can get away with that because Facebook chose to invest in fast rollbacks, right? And try to frame that in understanding what is the cost of that versus the pre-testing. It means that you are investing significantly more in your ops team, right, in order to make that work, versus putting more distributing more of the load in kind of the shared model, the DevOps model, on your developers, right? And that's an explicit choice. So if you're not going to do this, then you don't have a choice about that. If you're going to have any success at all, right? I mean, you could choose to not invest anywhere and just start throwing darts against the wall. But I maybe that's, I don't know, is that like worth a whole nother section under getting started, or like how do you think would be best to do that? Because I was thinking about it in terms of, as we started getting examples, that maybe we could use those examples to showcase different types of narratives that way. But that was
Yeah.
also sort of reliant on what types of examples we get.
Yeah, and I think that's probably correct, that it wants to be more of a white paper discussion off the back of this, so that you've got the big definition of terms, then the ability to discuss those things in context and say, you know, what's an acceptable trade-off and where do you invest within this. It may be that we want to do a piece on tailoring, because realistically that's what you're doing, is you're adopting a methodology but tailoring it to your particular environment.
You said something really interesting about the white papers. Does it made me think about blogging we talked about. Sorry, I have this. I don't know if I ate something weird last night. I have the worst stomach ache right now. It's making it very hard to think. Trying to think, what does Hugo have a blogging element to it, or is there a CD? I should know this. Do we have a CD Foundation blog? I know we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we've got a blog which goes out periodically, so that's another vector that we could use for some of this conversation.
Yeah. All right, that's a phase 2. Don't get ahead of myself. All right, let me copy that down. Okay. Clarifications. Tie key. G. Some companies get confused. What else did you say besides Facebook that you thought might be following that no test model?
I think that some of the Netflix examples are a bit like that, in that because it doesn't matter that much if your recommendations are not online 24/7. There's a different focus on where you put the investment in testing some of this. And I think that's quite an important piece here, because, you know, if you temporarily can't get access to cat videos, then that's a different matter to, you know,
Right.
It is a, you know, a medical system or a major piece of financial infrastructure going to stop working if you deploy something that's broken. the way I usually approach these types of decisions is to start by asking people to imagine what they would say to the judge, and then work backwards from there.
Right. Would it be worth maybe starting an issue, maybe not in the site, but in the SIG repo, to kind of start tracking like a backlog of possible white paper / blog posts?
Could do, yeah.
Because I'm thinking then if there's like one or two that we think could have good impact, we could make sure to align all of the content development in support of it as a prioritization, because I have a feeling we're going to be iterating for a long time on this stuff. I can't help but
I think we've now got two classes of work going on. We've got stuff to get us to first release.
Yep.
And then we've got the ongoing refinement of this site and iterative improvement. And a lot of that is where we're going to be doing those white papers and additional content and blogs and stuff like that.
Yep.
Because in many cases, we're going to find examples of things that happen in the real world that we'll want to refer to and discuss the process in the context of something that's happened.
1000% agree. Yeah, I love stuff like that. Okay.
So I don't see this as a linear delivery.
No, not at all.
And I think that the primary goal right now is to get this refined enough that version 0.1 can have its public release.
Yeah.
Which will then trigger a whole bunch of feedback, and get us more contributors and allow us to continue refining.
Okay. Okay. After all that, sorry, I talked about getting this in. Good. What was the other thing? I'm feeling like I didn't capture one of the things you said.
So no, there's nothing majorly urgent in all of that. I think we're just agreeing a shared understanding of where we are at the moment.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let me get the notes published, and then I'll clean up and get that PR submitted, create the new task to capture the feedback and get that out. Sounds good.
Okay. I'll review that as soon as it comes in and commit that, and then we can then move on to polishing the rest of the stuff. I think the one area where we've probably got gaps at the moment is in the supply chain stuff.
Right. Yep.
I
did you see
what was there, but it looks like it was just the beginning of a work in progress rather than actually ready for review.
Yeah, that, I mean, if you're talking about the Google Doc that Tracy started, yeah, last time I looked at it, it didn't look ready for review yet.
And also, that piece is focused on supply chain security, but I think we need to cover off supply chain management in general. So we need to look at the licensing aspects as well as the security aspects.
Yeah. That's a real, that's a really good point. Let me make sure we,
And I put that in the feedback on the document, so we've got it captured.
okay, cool. Oh, all right. Thank you, Terry.
Okay.
I'll get that
I hope
PR
you feel
over
better
to you.
shortly.
Yeah, me too. Ugh, whatever it was. I need to figure out if it was something I ate, so I never eat again. Dear God. All right. Cheers.
See you soon.